The Imo State chapter of the Nigerian Union of Pensioners has vowed to embark on a statewide protest if the state government fails to meet the deadline given to it to pay 6 months' pension arrears. The union has now extended its 14-day ultimatum, which began on the 16th of July, by 1 week to enable the state government resolve issues relating to the debt owed them.
It is the second time pensioners in Imo State are meeting to discuss the lingering issue of the non-payment of their arrears by the state government. State government has held several verification exercises which they see as a delay tactics to deny them their rights. The pensioners want their arrears paid from the recent bailout funds made available by the federal government within 21 days. After the meeting, the chairman of the union, Gideon Ezeji, tells Channels Television about their resolution.
The council resolved not to participate in further verification without payment of arrears of pensions. Arrears of pensions should commence, the payment should commence immediately. And in our notice, 14 days notice to the governor, we demanded that the civil pensioners, government should start paying, should pay them 3 months immediately and pay them the remaining 2 months plus July at end of July.
In a separate interview, the secretary to the government says the issue is being looked into and appeals for patience.
Instead of the money being paid or being paid to pensioners rising and the salaries decreasing, the two of them are going up. So it's a problem. So what assurance are you giving? I'm giving them assurance that, of course, they're in the front runner, they'll be paid. The government is not playing with pensioners. His Excellency is not in his nature to toy with senior citizens.
In spite of the government's appeal, it does seem the pensioners are resolute on their stance. There is therefore the need for both parties to dialogue and reach a common position on the matter.
Ogun State is a gateway to many parts of the country, and for that reason, it's exposed to various security challenges. This is the view of the Ogun State Governor, who made the demand that the federal government grants a special security status to his state. He made the demand in Abeokuta, the state capital, while receiving the new Commissioner of Police and other officers of the State Police Command. He promised to support the new state police boss and challenged him to be proactive in addressing Ogun State security issues.
To reassure everybody, all of those living in Ogun State, and even those that will be passing through Ogun State, and those that will want to come and invest in Ogun State, we want to reassure them that we are the safest and that security is so key to us. Indeed, one of the most important things for me, because nothing can be achieved, just like I said, in an atmosphere of insecurity. We were talking about getting our own tracking machine and all of that, because I think these are the things that will aid your work. And now that people know that Ogun State will not be, truly it is not probably a cover zone for criminals, you will see that they fled Ogun State. And that is why what we should continue to do, so that people know that there's no way you will perpetrate any nefarious activities in Ogun State without being caught.
Ogun State Governor Imo. Well, the visit of President Muhammadu Buhari to the United States may have come and gone, but the memory will linger on for a long time to come, even as many Nigerians will be expecting the dividends from that visit. Behind the scenes, President Buhari made out time to discuss with the United States Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, on corruption issues. He also met with the U.S. Treasury Secretary of the Economy. He will, as well as Dr. Pate of the World Bank, on economic assistance to the people of the Northeast. Whilst these meetings featured the central bank governor, state governors, and department secretaries. State House correspondent Chukwuma Onukasi reports.
There were several bilaterals that featured talks on commerce with the United States trade representatives. In attendance were the governors of Imo, Oyo, and Nasarawa states. The meeting with the United States Attorney General on corruption also featured the governor of Edo State and the central bank governor.
We talked about the fact that the trade, we currently have trade deficits between Nigeria and the United States, and that there is a need for this trend to be reversed such that we have more investments coming from Nigeria, and also such that we have more export from Nigeria to the United States so as to raise the trade position for Nigeria. We were very clear about the need for us to attract investors in the area of agriculture, power, and they are very receptive to this, and we agreed to set up bilateral economic teams to discuss some of these issues and see how we can push them forward.
Getting to the root of corruption is extremely important for the president and for everybody in Nigeria. In other words, right from monitoring the budget, right from monitoring individuals and ensuring that people in government follow due process, not only follow due process, but that they live above board. Not only live above board, but they must be seen to be living above board.
Before the visit to the United States, President Buhari has been to Chad, Niger, and Germany. One man who features prominently in all the trips is the Borno State governor in the eye of the storm. He was there when the president had audience with Dr. Pate of the World Bank Organization on economic assistance for the Northeast. He is grateful to the World Bank and the Bill Gates Foundation for the $2.1 billion for the rebuilding of the badly devastated northeastern part of Nigeria.
Quite gratifying that the World Bank and the international community had shown some enthusiasm towards assisting the governments of the Northeast, particularly Borno, in repositioning ourselves. The issue is, what resources can we mobilize towards rebuilding our destroyed communities? Schools, hospitals, homes, destroyed bridges. How to generate jobs for the people? I really don't want to dwell on the issue of whether it is a grant or a loan, but whatever it is, it doesn't matter whether the cat is black or white, so long as it will catch mice. What we are looking for are resources, to harness resources from whatever sources towards rebuilding our battered communities.
Borno State and Nigerians will be expecting the fulfillment of the promise to quickly move in to assess their needs as soon as the war against terror is won. Chukwuma Onwekusi, Channels Television News.
Well, living a healthy lifestyle and practicing good personal hygiene have been described as some of the ways to prevent pneumonia. Tonight on our Focus on Health, our correspondent Yomiyo Taigwe highlights what causes pneumonia and more ways of keeping the infection away from you and your loved ones.
The two extremes of life. The very young under 2 years and those above 65 years. These most vulnerable groups are susceptible to pneumonia infection owing to their levels of immunity. But that is not to say that those between these age groups cannot be infected with pneumonia bacteria or viruses.
What causes pneumonia is inhaling the organism most times, and this organism can come from the air or aspirating it when something comes from the mouth and the person aspirates into the lungs, or sometimes it can come from organisms from other parts of the body. Smoking is a risk factor because smoking damages your airways. So people who smoke are at higher risk of pneumonia. Alcoholics are also at high risk of pneumonia because sometimes they get drowsy, and when they are drunk and drowsy, what happens is that they have a higher chance of aspirating. And I said aspiration is one of the routes through which you can get organisms into your lungs. Drinking cold water or cold drinks does not cause pneumonia. There has to be an infection. But during certain seasons, when the weather is cold, the airways are more prone to being infected by organisms, particularly viral organisms.
Pneumonia, which has symptoms such as cough, fever, chest pain, fast breathing and feeling short of breath, among others, is still among the leading killers of children under 5 years, accounting for 15% of deaths, or an estimated 935,000 children worldwide in 2013.
Pneumonia will present with cough, fever, chest pain. TB will present with cough, fever, chest pain. Cancer of the lungs will present with fever, cough, chest pain. All. Now, how do you now distinguish the cough of pneumonia from the cough of TB, from the cough of cancer? That is what training to be a doctor and training to be a specialist is all about. So once you have a cough, see your doctor. The doctor will now determine whether it's pneumonia or TB or cancer or whatever.
In Nigeria, the burden of pneumonia is quite high, like in other parts of the world, because pneumonia complicates almost all other conditions. So the challenges facing the treatment of pneumonia in Nigeria include lack of appropriate knowledge by the doctors and not following guidelines. Though we don't have real local guidelines based on organisms that are found in Nigeria, which is a real challenge because ideally we should have data showing the common organisms causing pneumonia in Nigeria such that we have the right drugs that we should use when people have pneumonia in Nigeria. Right now, we mostly follow international guidelines.
Although Haemophilus influenza type B is part of the pentavalent vaccine given during immunization in Nigeria and the federal government's introduction of the pneumococcal conjugate vaccine in 2014 has been commended by some medical practitioners, there are some concerns.
These vaccines are imported from Europe, America, and they are made against the germs in that environment. And we're hoping and believing that it is the same germs we have here in Nigeria, which may not be true. So the ideal situation is that we should make our own vaccines here in Nigeria against the germs that we have here in Nigeria.
While everyone waits for the production of made in Nigeria pneumococcal vaccine, simple measures such as early and exclusive breastfeeding, regular hand washing with soap and water, and ensuring a well-ventilated home or workplace will also help reduce the incidence of pneumonia. Yomi Otaigbe reporting for Channels Television News.
Hello and welcome to Business News. A single bullish session of 0.92% on Tuesday this week lifted the stock market to a positive ending despite the 3 negative trading sessions that followed. The market posted a minor gain for the second time in the month of July at 31,091.69, but the total market value fell 26.81 billion naira to 10.67 trillion naira, led by banks and insurance stocks. At the closing bell on Friday, the Nigerian stock market had already shed 10.29% since the start of the new year. Demand for the shares of Oando and Mobil Oil led to a 1.55% rise in the oil and gas index. However, the 4 other indices declined. The consumer index fell 0.42% and the industrial index was a little softer at 0.41%. Insurance stocks declined 2.0% and banks shaved off 1.65% in the week. In terms of trading activity, a total of 1.73 billion shares were traded at a value of 23.39 billion naira in 15,044 deals. The biggest turnover deals of the week were reported on the shares of Zenith Bank, UBA, GT Bank, and Nestle. The board of the Nigerian Police Force Microfinance Bank has declared gross income of 2.1 billion naira for the 2014 financial year. At the NPF Microfinance Bank's 21st annual general meeting, tagged Opening Access to Financial Inclusion, the chairman of the board, Usman Baba, says that plans are on the way to expand its capital base and also expand its branch networks in the 36 states of the Federation. The shareholders also expressed satisfaction on the 2014 NPF Microfinance Bank's financial report.
Shareholders of the Nigerian Police Force Microfinance Bank gather for its 21st annual general meeting. The agenda was read and adopted as new members of the board are sworn in. Both the board of directors and the shareholders enjoy the satisfaction of a good financial year with a gross income of 2.1 billion naira, profit before tax of over 600 million naira, and a profit after tax close to 500 million naira.
Over the years, the bank has not disappointed founding fathers and the shareholders. And the story for this year is also the same. One advice one would like to give the board and the management is that they should keep the flag flying.
We have moved forward. You can see last year we declared 8 naira. This year, 2013, we declared 8 naira. 14, we are declaring 15 naira. 15 kobo. 8 kobo, 15 kobo. You can see it has gone far. It has gone up. So it's fine and good.
Shareholders are happy with them that for almost the whole year they have been resistant, they have paid dividends regularly, even much more than some conventional banks. So the microfinance bank is an investment that is worthwhile, and every Nigerian is encouraged to have a bite of the cake.
With an improved turnover compared to previous years, what would be the next target for the management of the NPF Microfinance Bank?
Then what is more to say other than to appreciate the members of the board, the management and staff that have come up with such a very splendid and wonderful performance.
As the shareholders look ahead to a more rewarding financial year, they place a higher expectation on their management to give them a better turnover in the coming year.
Well, that's it on Business News. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Mwawado. Gimba will be back with the rest of the news at 10.
Still ahead on the news at 10. The journey to the 2018 FIFA World Cup in Russia begins as Nigeria's Super Eagles face Djibouti and Swaziland in the second round of the qualifier. That's on Sports News. Stay with us.